let's take a look at this clip from Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro went kind of viral last night. 10.2 million views. This was posted 4 days ago, but this is getting all the attention now because Tucker finally responded. Ben Shapiro sums up why his brand of conservatism is dying fast and why the populist left will steamroll any Republican parroting Shapiro's views. So here he is on trigonometry talking about affordability. Now, to put a little bit of context into this, the host, what's his name? Constantine and the other guy with the eyeglasses.
I always forget. Was it Oliver?
Oliver. He certainly looks like an Oliver. It's not an Oliver.
I'm wondering if it's just that he looks like.
Yeah, he gives major Oliver vibes for sure. But they were talking about the property values in New York City. So what Ben Shapiro is talking about here pertains to more than just New York. But the context here is he's talking about affordability in New York and what you should do if you can't afford to live somewhere. Maybe you should just pack up and leave because that's the American way.
Can't afford to live here, then maybe you should not live here. I mean, that is a real thing. If you're a young person and you can't afford to live here, then maybe you should not live here. I mean, that is a real thing. Yeah, I know that we've now grown up in a society that says that you deserve to live where you grew up. But the reality is that the history of America is almost literally the opposite of that. The history of America is you go to a place where there is opportunity. And if the opportunities are limited here and they're not changing, then you really should try to think about other places where you have better opportunities.
It's amazing how a guy who, every time people talk about how maybe we shouldn't send money that could be earmarked to help Americans to Israel, he says, how dare you say that? You're an anti-Semite. But no, if you can't afford to live in your hometown, maybe you should just leave. Like this is what the grapes of wrath, like it's the night, like it's the days of the frontier where you should have to relocate.
Back up the Model T, Paul.
Yeah, exactly. So the reason this went even more viral last night is because Tucker put out a response to this. So let's take a look at Tucker's response to this exact video.
Clip, I think that's been on the internet, and it's hard to know where to start with that clip. I think that's been on the internet, and people are experiencing gut level revulsion when they see it, and they really should. And there's so many ways to approach that. There's so many things wrong with those statements. So childish, those statements, so lacking an understanding of people or any connection really to the country at all. But really what you see underneath all of that is contempt for the people who live here. You have no right to live in the town where you were born just because your parents are buried there. Your ancestors built the town. Who do you think you are? Imagine feeling that way about someone in your own country. Imagine having that level of contempt for a fellow American. You don't even know anything about the person. It's young people. They're not entitled to live where they want. They'll live where BlackRock tells them they can live. It's like, whoa. If you had a thought like that, I've had some ugly thoughts. I just admitted having some ugly thoughts. Boy, I would try and push it back and not express it. Ben says it without any embarrassment because he means it.
Yeah, you know who also does? Just about like every right of center politician in America. Like, this is the other thing. Like, okay, like, great point, but is what Ben Shapiro is talking about, is that deviating at all from like conservative orthodoxy? Really? I don't think so. I don't think so.
He's just saying it with less window dressing.
Right. And it's especially hypocritical coming from a guy who's like the biggest advocate for an apartheid welfare state. Like, that's what makes that's what makes him especially odious. Like, yeah, Shapiro is especially odious, which is why it brings it out of a guy like Tucker. But I mean, when you think a little bit deeper, really, this is just like mainstream conservative bootstrap shit.
That's exactly right, because he means it. Whew. I don't think that you can win a popular debate with that attitude, because...
Well, you can if you disguise it, right? You can't do it the way Shapiro just did it. You can if you dress it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Irrespective of the content of your sentence, people can feel the loathing that the speaker has for them. Ben Shapiro just does not care about you at all, is not even pretending to care about you. So again, it really doesn't matter what he's selling. That guy is not going to make the sale if people are free to buy whatever they want. It's like, I don't know what that guy's selling, but he doesn't like me. I can feel it right away. He doesn't care at all about me at all. And he thinks so little of me, he's not even going to like put on the dog. He's not even going to like try to pretend to care about me. And a guy like that, whew, he really needs censorship and bullying to succeed, because the free market does not reward a man like that at all, ever, because people don't like it. Why would they like it?
I mean, I might argue that the free market needs censorship and bullying to succeed, because actually what Shapiro is arguing here is for the free market. And you could substitute Ben Shapiro for the free market. So why doesn't Tucker say the free market doesn't care about you? Because that's true. The free market does not care about you.
Right.
And Tucker knows that. In fact, he has hinted in that direction with a lot of his commentary, as we will get into a little bit later. But the reason BlackRock determines where people live is not because of Ben Shapiro. It's because of the free market, quote unquote. Right. It's because people have not organized democratically to check the free market until just a couple weeks ago in New York City, where they made a tiny gesture in that direction, and it was enough to scare the shit out of most Republicans in America. So Mike Cernovich makes this point. Mike Cernovich tweets out, if we want Democrats to have a supermajority, then this is the message for the GOP to adopt. Tell people they need to move. Don't form family bonds. Worship the banks and big corporations. My goodness. Now, I hate to do this to you folks. I hate to actually feature Ayal Jacoby in a positive light, but he does catch Cernovich in the kind of hypocrisy that I was talking about. So Cernovich just 10 months ago says, if you can't afford a city, buy a house somewhere else. So this is Mike Cernovich in January of this year. Online young men, housing didn't keep pace with inflation. Me, buy a house outside of Des Moines with your laptop job. Them, what? I deserve to live in a big city. Call me a boomer, I don't care. The level of snobbery is off the charts from some of you. So see, it's the free market that is driving people out of their homes. And only when you organize against the free market do you have a chance of reversing that trend, as did happen in New York City. So I wanted to do this segment kind of anyway, but I figured this folds into this nicely. So the New York Post wrote an article after Mamdani's victory. New York City restaurateur cancels expansion plans following Zohran Mamdani victory. I'm not signing. New York City Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani's radical policy proposals have prompted high-profile restaurateur Stratis Morfogen to cancel plans to open new businesses. He told Side Dish he's pulling the plug on 3 new establishments, including one in Midtown West. I waited for the election before signing, and now I'm not signing, he said. Just last week, Morfogen opened his first restaurant in Miami. The eatery, called Brooklyn Chop House Miami, boasts 400 seats and has a rooftop bar overlooking the skyline in the Moxie Hotel in Wynwood. I'm not signing any more leases in New York, Morfogen vowed. I'll keep what I have. We're not expanding in New York, but we are pursuing further opportunities in Miami and other cities. We just don't feel that this mayor is suitable to supporting small businesses. So in other words, you can't afford to operate in New York. What you're saying is you're not willing to pay a little bit more in taxes to afford in New York. So you can't afford to open your 4th, 5th, and 6th bullshit restaurant, as we'll get into. And so you have to leave, right? I mean, that's what he's saying.
The small business thing is very cute.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yes. So here's his small business, the best steakhouse in New York, right? The Brooklyn Chop House. Brooklyn Chop House, best steakhouse in New York, with an online ordering menu that looks like DoorDash or Grubhub. Like, this is the tackiest shit you could think of. This guy's not a restaurateur. If he's a restaurateur, Colonel Sanders is Bobby Flay, right? I mean, this guy is not a restaurateur. Look at this. Bacon cheeseburger dumplings at a real steakhouse. Yeah, that's a real steakhouse item.
Yeah.
Bacon cheeseburger dumplings, chicken shumai dumplings. This is basically an Applebee's version of a steakhouse, but with very high-end rip-off steakhouse prices. Look at that. 48-ounce porterhouse for $290. That's more expensive than the Peter Luger steakhouse for $2, which that is a real New York institution. This is just a bullshit Times Square version of a high-end restaurant. But when this guy can't open 3 more locations of his bullshit rip-off, chain type restaurants, and he has to leave New York because he can't afford the taxes, right? Or the hostile business environment, the media prints that as if it's some great policy failing. That's not a policy failing. That's the people of New York deciding democratically, hey, you know what? It's more important to us that people are able to live as adults in the towns they were born in and not get priced out of them than it is for douchebags like this to open his 4th, 5th, and 6th restaurant. Like that's what that is. But the media will never cover this guy's inability to deal with the taxes and the red tape of opening more restaurants as a guy getting priced out by the market, because he's not getting priced out by the market. He is deciding it's not worth it for him to be here anymore. Why? Because the people organized democratically to decide, hey, you know what? We're going to prioritize affordability for the average person over the imperatives of the quote unquote free market. Right. And you know who does understand this to an extent? One, Tucker Carlson. So this was a video that went viral years and years back. The divide between Tucker's vision of conservatism and Ben Shapiro's was evident 7 years ago. Here, Tucker essentially predicts Zohran Mamdani. So let's take a look.
Preserving the family. If the goal is preserving the family as the core building block of any successful society, and it's got to be that goal, because it has all kinds of effects that we want, and it's just inherently good. I don't need to explain it, but I could. But the point is, if that's the goal, what are you doing about it? If you wake up one morning and you find yourself in a society where 23-year-olds with 4-year college degrees and like initiative who aren't smoking weed every day, if they can't make enough to buy a car, much less a home, much less get married, much less have children, then why should you be surprised when half of them say they prefer socialism?
There you go.
Yep.
You answered your own question, right? So look, Tucker's 100% right in what he says about Ben Shapiro. And, Ben Shapiro is an easy face to put on a policy to make it unpopular. But the problem runs a lot deeper than Ben Shapiro, and Tucker definitely has an understanding of that. And so I think what you got to do is take a moment like this, where a clip like that from Shapiro goes viral, and says, okay, well, what does the flip side of that actually look like? When a restaurateur gets priced out of New York, we don't frame it as this guy got priced out of New York and that's okay. We frame it as a policy failing. Oh, look how New York City failed this wonderful man who's trying to bring more restaurants and more opportunities and more leisure to New York City. And it's because of that government, the big bad government, that was too hard on him that now he had to leave. And goddamn those socialists who drove him out. No, who you're calling the socialists, those are the people who decided, hey, you know what? If I was born in Brooklyn, I'd like to be able to live in Brooklyn. And this is a big problem, particularly in New York. Like, think about it. If you're born 100 miles out of Columbus, Ohio, you can pretty much expect that you'll be able to like stay there for your whole life if you want to, because your friends are from there, your families are from there, your church is there, your community, right? Whatever you've built around you is there. If you're born in New York City, you pretty much have to make $300,000 a year to afford to stay there as an adult, or else you got to leave, or else you'll be priced out. That's a big fucking problem. That's a big fucking problem. If you care about, as Tucker says, the things that the right in particular proclaims that they care so much about, which is family and community, right? And building those sorts of social units like that. So yeah, absolutely. Like what Tucker said was 100% right, but it's a lot bigger than Ben Shapiro.
Yeah. New York, when I do my weekly bike ride, honestly, what I think of, and not just in New York, traveling around the country too, but you really see it in New York. It's like vampires. It's like vampires waiting online to try the latest blood type that is available at the shop.
Right.
It is a lot of people who are living very well enough to have the disposable income and the leisure time to line up for whatever boba tea they saw on Instagram.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Like lines down the block for shit like that.
Oh,
that
yeah.
People saw on Instagram. I see that all over whenever I take my bike ride. And this is happening in a country and in a city where we have the poorest district in America where Jose is running, where Richie Torres represents. That's the poorest district in America. You have that a few miles away from where these people are waiting online for a perfume sample, for the new slice place. Right? It really is just sucking the blood of the poor who make it, who serve it, which is an interesting question Shapiro doesn't seem to be considering.
Right.
These vampires really need blood to suck. If there are no workers who can afford to live here, who's going to wait on them the way that they like? You don't just see this in New York. You see it particularly in New York because you have such a concentration of wealth in New York. Even in St. Louis, there was that part of town. There was that, I think it was called Soulard. There was a little section there. And something that you'll find depressing if you really go around the country is how confident they are in their good taste and superiority, but how absolutely what a monoculture they have from coast to coast, how absolutely the same the tastes are from one end of the country to the other.
Right.
It's anywhere you go, it's some kind of Asian fusion thing. It's some kind of like half-assed retro coffee place with books on the wall that you can take down and read. It's anywhere you go, it's the same exact sensibility. It's the same sensibility, whether it's New York or whether it's in an upscale section of St. Louis. It's the same. They fetishize exactly the same things. And the kinds of things they fetishize are very vampiric in a country where so many people are suffering. It's very much, oh, yes. Have you tried those soufflés at the new place that opened from the chef who used to be downtown
Right.
at that pasta place? Oh, you have to try it. It's like fucking vampires. So what Ben Shapiro's saying is, well, if you're not a vampire, you shouldn't be there. Now,
Right.
again, he's not asking what the vampires are going to feed on if all of the victims leave.
Right.
But that's what he's explaining. And if you're a native New Yorker like me, like our friend Virtuoso, like Jose, it's been tragic to see New York turn into that because it wasn't like that. It wasn't like that. Like you always had Wall Street is here. You always had those people. But part of what made New York so interesting was those people were just one part of a very diverse mosaic. Now what I would call the Sex and the City culture, the consumer porn culture, that has really become the culture of New York, with the more interesting dynamic parts of New York kind of shoved under the surface and turned into a struggling, impoverished working class.
Please clap.